So I've already said my piece on Amorim leaving, and I'm now going to leave that in the past. It's now time to concentrate on a new era and a new beginning and a new reign. Most reports indicate that Darren Fletcher won't even be the interim manager for that long, but what did we learn from his first game in charge, and what can we expect from any future game that he takes control of? I firstly want to comment on the formation. To be honest, I'm actually sick of talking about formations. The Amorim era totally distorted any facts or logic regarding the formations. But I did do a video recently trying to explain why formations don't really matter that much when you compare them to a coach's philosophy or their playing style, and I would recommend watching that if you have the time. But just to go into it a little bit, against Burnley we saw Manchester United and Darren Fletcher use the 4-2-3-1 formation and the end result was once again a disappointing scoreline. To go into a little bit more detail, against Burnley we saw a large amount of exploitable space, which according to a lot of fans and analysts wouldn't have been there if Amorim just simply changed the formation. We saw huge spaces in the middle at times, and if those channels were shut down, it was noticeably sparse in the wide areas. The fact is, there isn't a perfect formation which covers every area of a football pitch, so we can probably expect to see times when the team is stretched and there are areas of exploitable space available for opposition teams. Regardless, Fletcher did set up in the 4-2-3-1 like I said earlier. Fletcher more or less used the 4-2-3-1 as his attacking shape and his defensive shape. This gives the team stability and it ensures that the team isn't overlearning a new formation or a new system of play too early on. Incidentally, the previous manager, who I'm not going to mention anymore, did the exact same thing and slowly introduced different defensive shapes and attacking shapes as the players learned the base formation and tactics. I expect Fletcher will continue to use the 4-2-3-1 during his time as Manchester United manager and probably won't introduce new shapes during his stints. This isn't because I believe that he's a limited manager, but he is, as the reports are saying, on limited time, and he doesn't really have the time and the opportunity to develop his principles onto the team. But let's get more into the individual players, and a key player that I want to highlight at this point is Bruno Fernandes. In the 4-2-3-1, he's back in the number 10 role or the AMC role, whatever you want to call it, and most fans probably will be happy to see it. But there's one thing about Bruno at AMC that some fans or a lot of fans seem to be forgetting. Do you remember the Solskjaer and the Ten Hag eras when Bruno was playing in that position? A constant criticism of Bruno during these times when he was playing in this position was that he wandered too often and came away from his position trying to influence anything and everything that he could. I think the term running around like a headless chicken comes to mind and probably suited him quite well at the time. And we would see it happening often in this game where he would often come deep to get the ball and wander from his AMC position. Although in most cases this was pretty well managed by Fletcher, as Man United didn't seem to leave that many gaps in forward positions. Cunha would tuck inside from the right to take on the AMC position, and Dalot would bomb on further on the right to take on the right wing position. But the fact is, Bruno is the type of player who wants to get on the ball and influence anything and everything that he can. He doesn't influence games from deep like a Pirlo or a Xabi Alonso, but he wants to get things going and influence everything and be involved in everything. He is going to wander away from that AMC position, and I'm sure we're going to see it happening more and more often as the games go on. I don't think it was necessarily a negative in this game, but it is something to look out for because under Ole and Ten Hag, he was actually a nightmare for this. The next point I do find quite interesting, and it goes back to the setups of the formations, the 4-2-3-1. Although Fletcher did basically have the team playing a strict 4-2-3-1, the players did sometimes adjust positions to change the shape. Ugarte was sometimes found dropping back into the centre-back position to form a back three with Martinez and Heaven or Euro if Euro was on the pitch. This of course allowed the fullbacks to bomb on forward to create overloads out wide and open up space in the middle for players like Cunha and Bruno to operate in. Central midfielders dropping back into centre-back is an interesting tactic, and it was used heavily by Guardiola during his time as Bayern Munich manager. Here he would use Xabi Alonso to drop back into centre-back and use him to dictate the play. It'll be interesting to see how Fletcher uses this going forward, as Manchester United don't really have that Xabi Alonso type of player who will be able to dictate the play, so I expect it will be used to create positional space over a specific player role. The last player I want to concentrate on is Diogo Dalot. Do you remember that season when he won Players Player of the Season? I think it was under Ten Hag, and he played right back, but very often in those games he would come inside and play more of an inverted role. I remember him being surprisingly press resistant and very capable of playing centrally. We saw him coming inside against Burnley, so it may be the case that the United team will look to have an inverted right back under Fletcher. Overall though, it was quite a pleasing performance. Sesko proved that he will score goals, and he was very unfortunate not to add to his tally. He could have had 3 4, possibly even 5. Dorgu again looked much more improved in the more advanced role on the left wing. Lacey is grabbing a lot of headlines for his impressive cameo performance. And even Ugarte looked like a footballer at times. The game was mostly controlled by Man United, and they can consider themselves unlucky to not have won. I'm still gutted Amorim was sacked, but at the end of the day, what's done is done. We move on, and I'm looking forward to the new era. But how do you feel about the performance and the result? Did you see anything in Fletcher which you thought was really encouraging, and you think that you want him to continue as the interim manager for longer, or do you want rid of him ASAP as the board seems to want to? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel, as it would really help me out. Cheers!